Tony T here from TonySpicks.com with our college football pick show. This is week 5, part 3, 15 games on this video. So that means we now have, 30 for Saturday, 1 for Thursday on the channel. So we've got much of the card will be done already on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Lots of free picks on our channel, delivered by myself as well as our team of cappers here at TonySpicks.com, making it a great channel to subscribe to. Hey, give us that like, that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Then visit our site, TonySpicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing our top performers in our industry. Click the links to the hot cappers, get signed up to long-term passes. You see our top performers up there, guys like Sean Higgs, Rod up there on the leaderboard, guys you see from our live shows, as well as our YouTube videos. Jorge up on the leaderboard as well. You see him on our live shows as well. Alessandro El Ninos hitting the boards. Chris Atkins as well. Latest premier picks here, center of the page with best bets and more. We will be locked and loaded for this card here on Thursday. Remember, all of our one-day passes are profit guaranteed. They must turn a profit. Amount purchased is credit back to your account for site credits. That's profit guaranteed. And then our promo code TonyT at checkout will knock off that 15%. The link is in the description to get signed up. So let's go ahead. Let's get this one underway. We got Ohio State and Washington. This one for Thursday. All right, we got Ohio State 3-0 after a 37-9 home victory against Ohio. Buckeyes posted 572 yards with 7.3 yards per rush. They limit the Bobcats to 2 yards per run and 5.4 yards per pass attempt. Julian Sayin, 25 of 32 passing for 347 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. Washington 3-0 after their 59-24 road win at Washington State. Huskies posted 471 yards, 5.2 yards a carry with a huge game passing. They held the Cougars to under 1 yard per rush, 277 yards passing, 7.7 yards per pass attempt. Devin Williams here in the game, 16 of 19 passing for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns. He rushed for 88 yards and a score. Ohio State plays their first true road game of the season. The Huskies are hitting excellence this season at the 4 key endpoints. They rush for 6.1 yards a carry, average 11.3 yards per pass attempt. On defense, they hold teams at 2.4 yards per rush and 6.2 yards per pass attempt. First year starter saying first true road game. It's a tough environment. Ohio State 3-5 the spread on the road on field turf. Huskies 3-1 to the spread home against winning teams. Pick here Washington plus the 8. Utah and West Virginia going off here on Saturday. Utah fell to 3-1 after a 34-10 home defeat to Texas Tech. Utes offense was disappointing with barely 3 yards a carry and ineffective passing. That allowed 484 yards to the Red Raiders, defending the pass and running poorly. Devin Dampier, 25 of 38 passing for 162 yards with two picks, I should say. He averaged only 2.5 yards per rush. West Virginia 2-2 after a 41-10 road defeat at Kansas. Mountaineers' passing game failed, but they rushed for 181 yards for 4.4 yards a carry. They were crushed by the Jayhawks' run attack for 242 yards for 5.9 yards per attempt. Nico Markle has a foot injury and is questionable. He was ineffective in defeat. Jalen Henderson is a likely starter. He went 4 of 11 for 28 yards last week. He rushed for 118 yards and a touchdown. West Virginia has that look of a team to play them at home, fade them on the road. They're rushing for just over 5 yards a carry at home with an average of 55 attempts. It is almost a 3-to-1 ratio run and pass at home. The Utes have defended well on the road at UCLA and Wyoming, allowing an average of 8 points per game. Utah 3-0 to the under on the road, facing a team that averages 200 yards per game of greater rushing. West Virginia 4-1 to the under at home, facing teams that average 31 or greater points per game. Pick here will be Utah and West Virginia under 47.5. UCLA and Northwestern going off on Saturday. UCLA 0-3 after their 35-10 home defeat to New Mexico. Bruins were ineffective passing the football and rushed for 5 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 298 yards rushing to Lobos with 8.9 yards per pass attempt. Nico Iamaleava, 22 of 34 passing, 217 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Northwestern 1-2 after a 34-14 home defeat to Oregon. The Wildcats were ineffective through the air and rushed for 4.8 yards a carry. The offense came late when the game was decided. Preston Stone, 11 of 21 passing for 135 yards and 2 picks. A coaching change was made for the Bruins following the loss. UCLA showed competitiveness in a 7-point loss at UNLV. Northwestern was held to 3 points at Tulane. The Wildcats are allowing 5.6 yards per rush this year and only averaging 6.2 yards per pass attempt. UCLA 6-1 to the spread on the road after a loss. Northwestern 1-4 to the spread at home following a home game. So pick here will be UCLA plus the 6.5. Baylor and Oklahoma State for Saturday. Baylor fell to 2-2 after their 27-24 home defeat to Arizona State. The Bears rushed for 4.6 yards to carry and moved the ball through the air. They limited the Sun Devils' passing attack and allowed 179 yards rushing for 3.8 yards to carry. The Bears had a -3 turnover margin. Sawyer Robertson here, 25 of 39 passing for 250 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Oklahoma State 1-2 after a 19-12 home defeat to Tulsa. Cowboys had a good rushing numbers that failed in the passing game. They limited the Golden Hurricane through the air but allowed 205 yards rushing for 4.8 yards to carry. Zane Flores, 25 of 40 passing for 214 yards. He rushed 56 yards and a touchdown. Gundy, head coach, was fired after the loss. Baylor has played a tough schedule and has wins by 3 at SMU and posting 48 points. The Bears are getting production from their quarterback position, and the Cowboys are not. Oklahoma State's defense allowing 5.5 yards per rush, 8.3 yards per pass attempt. Baylor 7-1 of the spread on the road on field turf. Cowboys 5-10 of the spread at home. We'll take Baylor here minus the 20.5. San Diego State and Northern Illinois for Saturday. We've got San Diego State here 2-1 after their 34-30 home victory against Cal. The Aztecs were efficient through the air and rushed for 5 yards a carry. They limited the Golden Bears to 2.1 yards per rush and 5.5 yards per pass attempt. Jaden Denigal, 15 of 18 passes for 189 yards with a touchdown. Northern Illinois 1-2 after a 38-10 road defeat at Mississippi State. Huskies rushed for 4.6 yards a carry but inefficient in the passing game. Defensively, they allowed 452 yards to the Bulldogs with 292 rushing yards for 6 yards per rush. Josh Holst in the game, 14 of 23 passing for 135 yards and a touchdown with a pick in there too. San Diego State in their lone road game was pounded 36-13 at a down Washington State team. NIU has been able to defend the pass well during the season. San Diego State rushing for only 3.8 yards a carry and not getting accurate play at the quarterback position. The Aztecs 2-7 straight up of their past 9 road games. Pick here in Northern Illinois here at plus 2.5. Rice and Navy for Saturday. Rice improved to 3-1 after their 28-17 road win at Charlotte. The Owls triple option produced 255 yards rushing for 5.5 yards a carry. They limited the 49ers to 2.5 yards a carry and allowed 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Chase Jenkins in the game, 8 of 11 passes for 87 yards with a touchdown. Navy 3-0 after their 42-23 road win at Tulsa. This shipment rushed for 367 yards for 5.8 yards a carry. They limited the Golden Hurricanes passing game and 4.2 yards a carry there. Blake Horvath, 6 of 10 passing for 94 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. 2 triple option offenses meeting here. Each team practices against this defense so they know what is coming here. The Owls are rushing for 4.6 yards a carry and limiting opponents to 4 yards per rush. Navy 0-3 of the spread at home, facing teams that average 200 yards rushing per game. I would expect a closer game than what is lined here, since each plays and runs the same time-consuming offense here. So we'll take Rice here at the plus 14.5. All right, next up we'll have for you Cal and Boston College will be the next game. ACC action here. California and Boston College going off here on Saturday. Cal drops to 3-1 after a 34-0 road defeat at San Diego State. Cal's ground game sputtered, just 2 yards a carry, and ineffective in the passing game. They allowed 4 yards a carry and 10.5 yards per pass attempt. Golden Bears had a -3 turnover margin. Jared Koi Tele, 17 of 38 passing for 208 yards and 2 picks. Boston College 1-2 with their 30-20 road defeat at Stanford. BC rushed for only 2 yards a carry and moved the ball through the air. They allowed 213 yards rushing the Cardinal with 5.8 yards a carry along with 8.5 yards per pass attempt. Then Lonergan, 30 of 44 passing for 313 yards, the touchdown pick. It was a tough spot. It was a back-to-back road trip, and that was a tough spot there for BC there. It is back-to-back road games now for Cal, who faces the Eagles coming off a bye week. Golden Bears on the road rushed for only 3.2 yards a carry and got inaccurate passing. Their pass defense has been poor on the road, where they allow 71% completions, 8.4 yards per pass attempt. BC's getting good quarterback play, 74% completion rate, 9.2 yards per pass attempt, 393 yards passing. The Eagles are defending the run and holding opponents to 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Cal 1-3 to the spread on the road, facing teams that average 425 yards per game or greater. Pick here, Boston College, -6. Auburn and Texas A&M for Saturday. Auburn fell to 3-1 after a 24-17 road defeat in Oklahoma. The Tigers struggled on the ground with less than 2 yards a carry. They stuffed the Sooners' ground attack and allowed 271 yards passing for 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Jackson Arnold, 21 of 32 passing for 220 yards with a touchdown. Texas A&M sits at 3-0 with a 41-40 road win at Notre Dame. The Aggies rushed for 4 yards a carry and excelled in the passing game. They limited the Fighting Irish ground attack and allowed 293 yards passing for 9.2 yards per pass attempt. Marcel Reed, 17 of 37 passing for 360 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Bye week for A&M and back-to-back road games for Auburn. The Aggies have scored 41 or greater points in all 3 games. The Tigers' run game and pass defense a concern here from last week against a conference foe on the road. Auburn 1-6 of the spread on the road against winning teams. Pick here, Texas A&M, -6.5. Akron and Toledo for Saturday. Akron 1-3 after a 51-7 home victory against FCS Duquesne. 2 weeks ago, it was a 31-28 road defeat at UAB. The Zips got their pass game going and rushed for 3.7 yards a carry. They limited the Blazers' ground attack but allowed 341 yards passing for 7.8 yards per pass attempt. Ben Finley, 29 of 35 passing for 282 yards and 2 touchdowns. Toledo 2-2 after a 14-13 road defeat at Western Michigan. The Rockets rushed for 191 yards for 4.5 yards a carry and were miserable in the passing game. They limited the Broncos on the road here and on the ground and allowed 6.1 yards per pass attempt. Tucker Gleason, 15 of 30 passing for 89 yards and 2 interceptions. Toledo at home against an FBS opponent put up 45 points in a 24-point win. Overall, they rushed for 5.1 yards a carry and got very good performance from the defense. Opponents rushed for 2.9 yards a carry and passed for 5.2 yards per attempt. The Zips, who other defense, gave nearly 5.5 yards a carry and 73% completion rate for 9.8 yards per pass attempt. The Rockets ran out of the spread at home, following a road loss. Pick here will be Toledo at -21. UConn and Buffalo going off here on Saturday. UConn 2-2 after their 31-25 home victory at Ball State. The Huskies rushed the football effectively, 217 yards for 5.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 176 yards rushing for 4.8 yards a carry, but 9.1 yards per pass attempt. Joe Fagnano, 20 of 30 passing, 181 yards and a touchdown. Buffalo 2-2 with their 21-17 home defeat to Detroit. The Bulls were ineffective through the air and rushed for only 3.7 yards a carry. They limited the Trojans through the air and allowed 163 yards rushing for 3.4 yards a carry. Daquan Roberson, 9 of 15 passing for 104 yards, but left the game due to injury and is doubtful here. Gunnar Gray, 5 of 13 passing for 49 yards and will likely start. UConn getting great work from their offense here, 6.5 yards per rush, 297 yards passing for 7.9 yards per pass attempt. Roberson's injury here, huge. UConn 4-1 to the spread on the road after a home game. Buffalo 0-3 to the spread at home following a home game. Pick here UConn -3.5. LSU and Ole Miss, this one for Saturday. LSU improved to 4-0 after their 56-10 home victory against FCS Southeast Louisiana. 2 weeks ago, it was a 20-10 home victory against Florida. The Tigers rushed for 3.9 yards a carry and moved the football through the air. They held the Gators to about 3 yards per rush with 5.8 yards per pass attempt. Garrett Nussmeier here, 15-27 passing for 220 yards with a touchdown and pick. Ole Miss 4-0 with their 45-10 home victory against Tulane. The Rebels had great offensive performance with 548 yards with 5.7 yards per rush. They crushed the Green Waves passing game, but allowed 178 yards rushing for 4.5 yards a carry. Austin Simmons missed the game due to an ankle injury. Likely starter here, Trinidad Chambliss, 17-27 passing for 307 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 112 yards. LSU's offense struggled in their lone road game, held to 3.5 yards per rush, 6.3 yards per pass attempt in their win at Clemson by 7. Ole Miss is getting balanced offensively here, 5.1 yards per rush, 11 yards per pass attempt. Ole Miss win against Tulane, really impressive as it was before the encounter against LSU. The manner in which they beat Green Wave really stands out here. LSU 1-5 the spread on the road when lying between +3 and -3. Rebels 11-5 the spread at home. Pick here will be Ole Miss here at -1.5. Hawaii and Air Force going off here on Saturday. Hawaii drops to 3-2 with a 23-21 home defeat to Fresno State. The Warriors rushed for only 3.3 yards a carry, and they were ineffective in the passing game. They held the Bulldogs at 2 yards per rush and 230 yards passing for 7.9 yards per pass attempt. Air Force 1-2 with their 49-37 home victory against Boise State. The Falcons were effective through the air and rushed for 269 yards for 4.9 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 592 yards to the Broncos and unable to really stop the run or pass. Lamb Zarka here, 13 of 18 passing for 246 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 110 yards and a score. Hawaii in their lone road game was hammered at Arizona at 40-6. The Warriors' offense was poor for the year, 3.4 yards per rush, 5.4 yards per pass attempt. The Falcons' offense is rushing for nearly 5 yards a carry with 11.2 yards per pass attempt. Hawaii was held to 23 points at home to FCS Portland State. Hawaii 3-9 to the spread on the road. The pick here will be Air Force -6.5. Tulane and Tulsa, this one for Saturday. Tulane drops to 3-1 after a 45-10 road defeat at Ole Miss. The Green Wave with horrible passing game, but rushed for 178 yards for 4.6 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 548 yards to Rebels and unable to really stop the run or pass. Jake Retzloff, 5 of 17 passing for 56 yards. Tulsa 2-2 with their 19-12 road win at Oklahoma State. Gorham Hurricane ran for 205 yards for 4.8 yards a carry, and they limited the Cowboys' passing attack and allowed 185 yards rushing here for 5 yards a carry. Kirk Francis questionable with a concussion. Baylor Hayes 23 of 36 passing for 219 yards and a score. Tulsa getting poor quarterback play, just 5.7 yards per pass attempt, and on defense allowing 5 yards a carry. Tulane has rushed effectively, 214 yards per game, 5.3 yards per rush. Green Wave 6-2 on to the spread on the road as a favorite. Tulsa 2-5 the spread as a home dog. Pick here will be on Tulane -14.5. New Mexico State and New Mexico for Saturday. Mexico State 2-1 with a 49-14 road defeat at Louisiana Tech. The Aggies struggled on the ground, 27 yards, but were effective in the passing game. They allowed 573 yards to the Bulldogs and unable to slow down their run or pass. Logan Fife here, 17 of 33 passing for 281 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Mexico improved to 2-1 with a 35-10 road win at UCLA. The Lobos rushed for 298 yards, 6.5 yards a carry, and they were effective in the passing game. They limited the Bruins' passing attack and allowed 109 yards rushing for 5 yards a carry. Jack Delane here, 12 of 16 passing for 52 yards and 2 scores. New Mexico passing game has been inefficient. The Aggies here, offensive performance has been poor throughout the year. They are rushing for 1.6 yards a carry and 6.8 yards per pass attempt. New Mexico State 6-1 the under in their back-to-back road games. The pick here, New Mexico State, New Mexico under 53.5. Tennessee and Mississippi State for Saturday. Tennessee 3-1 with their 56-24 home victory against UAB. Volunteers racked up 510 yards balanced on the run and pass. They limit the Blazers to 23 yards rushing, but 371 yards passing for 7.1 yards per pass attempt. Joey Aguilar here, 15-22 passes for 218 yards with 3 touchdowns and a pick. Mississippi State 4-0 after their 38-19 home victory against Northern Illinois. The Bulldogs were dominant in the running game and passing as well. They limited the Huskies' passing game and allowed 125 yards rushing for 4.5 yards a carry. Blake Shapen, 12-20 passing for 160 yards with a touchdown. He rushed for 51 yards in the game. Volunteers played their first true road game. Their pass defense is allowing 67% completion rate and 279 yards a game. The Bulldogs get really good production from their offense. They have a 24-20 home victory against Arizona State with really great pass defense. On the year, Bulldogs allowing 4.8 yards per pass attempt. Shapen has been accurate at quarterback and averaging 8.8 yards per pass attempt. Tennessee 3-6 to the spread here on the road. Pick here will be on Mississippi State plus the 8. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Lots of free picks over our channel, delivered by myself as well as our team of captains here at Tony's Picks. Give us a like, a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Of course, we go live every day with our 26 Morning Show, 9:30 a.m. Each time. Tune in and check it out and chat with us if you would. And, of course, check out our site, TonySpicks.com, for our best bets. That's where you'll find our premium plays for our top-rated cappers, all with leaderboards showcasing top performers. Find them, click their links, get signed up. Latest premium picks are sent to the page with best bets and more. Will be locked and loaded for this card on Thursday, and our promo code TonyT at checkout will knock off that 15%. The link is in the description to get signed up. That will do it for now. I'm Tony T, and we'll talk with you guys later.